It's my favorite segment of the week. It is the Steelers Talk Mailbag here in Week 11, where I'm answering your questions on the black and gold as this team prepares to take on the Cincinnati Bengals here in Week 11 at home. Now, before we get into the questions today, make sure you click that subscribe button to join the most interactive Steelers community anywhere here on YouTube. We got over 103,000 Yinzers already subscribed to the channel that bleed black and gold, and we go live every single Tuesday and Thursday to talk Steelers football with each other, and then also we go live for every single Steelers game for pregame, during the game, and post-game coverage. We have the largest Steelers watch parties anywhere on the YouTube platform. We do these mailbags every single week so that you guys can get your questions on the show and we can have that two-way conversation. I greatly appreciate all the support that you give to me and Ponzi here on Steelers Talk, so click that subscribe button if you haven't already. To help us get to 105,000 subscribers as soon as we possibly can. $10 from Alex L. says, if Rodgers wets the bed again, do we bench him during the game? I mean, it depends on how bad it is. Like, if he's just, like, not completing any passes and it's, like, really bad, then, yeah, maybe you think about it. But I got to see at least a couple of bad performances in a row, Alex, before I start thinking about taking Rodgers out. Because taking Rodgers out essentially means you're waving the towel on the season. All right, you're saying we have no shot the rest of the way because Mason Rudolph isn't going to get you there. All right, Will Howard, a rookie, is not going to get you there. Maybe Will performs well, but like even in the best case scenario, Mason Rudolph and Will Howard do not get you to a championship, whereas Rodgers, who has been there, he's done that, longtime veteran, big-time talent, could still theoretically get you in that position if the rest of the team kind of comes together. But if you bench Rodgers, you're essentially saying this season's done, we're throwing in the towel. And I just don't think the Steelers are going to do that until, the season essentially is lost. So I think it's going to take at least a couple more games where the team is really playing poorly. They're losing every single game, and essentially the season is over before they end up benching Aaron Rodgers. $2 from Justin says, appreciate the friendly debate, Sperry. 88 is better than 81. Couldn't agree more, man. And certainly it looks like you're probably getting the best of me on the wide receiver debate, because I went into the year and I'm like, man, I saw Calvin get open a lot on film last year, and I thought, with Rodgers coming in, he's going to be able to see him more. And sure, Calvin's been injured at times, but like Calvin's only had 2 games above 50 yards receiving this year, and it's just like at some point we got to see him produce. I think he's got the talent, he's got the ability, he's got some really cool traits about him and about his game, but he's been less productive than he was last year with Russell Wilson. So, and then certainly with the Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith debate, Pat Freiermuth, no reason why Jonnu Smith should be playing more than him. It just makes no sense to me. I mean, Pat Freiermuth, he's not getting as many snaps as Jonnu, yet he's outproducing him in pretty much every single category. And Arthur Smith, being the ultimate Jonnu Smith guy, just keeps putting him out there and keeps benching Pat Freiermuth. And it just makes no sense to me. So I'm right there with you, Justin. I appreciate you too, my friend. True or false? Let me know down there in the comment section. Jonnu Smith should be getting the least amount of tight end snaps. Well, I mean, outside of Connor Hayward, all right? Between Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, and Jonnu Smith, is it true or false that Jonnu Smith should be getting the least amount of snaps? Type T for true or type F for false. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time. But letting me know true or false down there in the comments. $5 from Justin says, do you think A-Rod or Tomlin was behind staying in the Charger game in garbage time when he could have gotten really hurt? I think it was probably, Tomlin, but I don't think there was like a discussion that was had, right? I probably, during garbage time, I probably would have thrown in Mason Rudolph just to keep Rodgers healthy, but kind of like what they did with Jaylen Warren. Like, they didn't play Jaylen Warren the rest of the game once it got to garbage time. Because they wanted to keep him healthy and fresh, but I guess they didn't feel the need to do that with Rodgers. So I don't think there was really like a discussion about, hey, you want to stay in or not. It was more of just like, he's our starting quarterback, so he's going to go out there. $5 from Ali the Reaper says, since everyone wants Tomlin gone, who is the best fitting coach to coach the Steelers to the Super Bowl? I think that I will say this, the chances of firing Tomlin and trading Tomlin, extremely low. All right, Tomlin has a no-trade clause, so if he's going to get traded, he has to agree to go somewhere else, and I just don't see him doing that. And then in terms of firing him, he still has multiple years left on his deal, and I just don't see the Steelers paying the amount of money they would have to pay to Tomlin to go away. All right, so I think that barring some unforeseen disaster, Mike Tomlin will probably be back with the Pittsburgh Steelers next year, whether you like that or not as a fan. By the way, the coach that I would probably want to replace him with would be Brian Flores. I think that he checks all the boxes for me. He already has established credibility in the locker room. He was a coach here in Pittsburgh, so players know what he's about. And he has the support of the leadership. Then also brilliant defensive mind. He'd be bringing that on day one. And then also he'd be bringing over a pretty good offensive mind because he's got a connection to the Kevin O'Connell and Sean McVay tree. So I think that is certainly something that I would be interested in. Plus, he's charismatic as hell. He's learned how to be a player-friendly coach from guys like Tomlin and Kevin O'Connell, whereas back in Miami, he was still doing a Belichick style, dictatorship style, head coaching philosophy. So I think Brian Flores deserves another chance to be a head coach in the National Football League. And if Tomlin ends up getting traded, I think Flores would be my pick. All right, now let's give you guys an awesome opportunity to get an awesome piece of Steelers apparel. It is the Salute to Service officially licensed Steelers sweatshirt. When you go chatsports.com/PitSalute25. Really like the Army green coloring this year. You got the Steelers logo there on the chest patch. Then you got the American flag branding there on the right sleeve. I think you can wear this in a bunch of different occasions and different settings. Usually in the past, the Salute to Service gear was super heavy on the camo, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with camo. But I think that, just a plain, minimalistic Army green, I think is a really good look. So if you agree with me on that, you want to get this for yourself or somebody that you love for Christmas, go to chatsports.com/PitSalute25. And also, every time you click our link and make a purchase, we get part of the proceeds back here at Steelers Talk, so you're supporting the channel as well. So if you guys want this sweatshirt, chatsports.com/PitSalute25. That link is down in the comments and description of today's show if you want to get this thing in your closet today. $2 from Brian03 says, how does Khan keep getting away with wide receiver troubles? I think that, it's the Steelers' opinion that wide receiver talent is cheap in this league. And there's a lot of different, you can get a good wide receiver in the draft in the middle rounds nowadays, for example. There's usually plenty of them that are available via trade. There's usually plenty of them that are available via free agency. And I think teams that are trading receiver talent away are asking for a lot. And the teams trying to acquire wide receiver talent, like the Steelers, are not trying to pay too much to get one. And I think that Khan was willing to pony up. I mean, according to the reports, he was willing to pay exactly what Jacksonville and Seattle paid for Jacoby Myers and Rashid Shaheed, respectively. It's just that the players decided to go elsewhere when the teams gave them a choice of where they were going. So hopefully they can figure it out. And hopefully someone else can step up here, whether that's Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin III, Pat Freiermuth, MVS. Hopefully somebody can step up because, until somebody else does, the double teams are going to be coming for DK Metcalf. $5 from Steelers fan 151 says, what's your opinion on getting a corner first round over a QB? I want to see what happens with Asante Samuel Jr. for sure, man. Asante's only 26, so if he plays well this year, there's a chance that they could bring him back in free agency next year. And I think that if that's the case, there's certainly bigger needs that the Steelers have on their roster that they could address. They could address offensive guard because Sayamalo's a free agent next year. I think that they could certainly go quarterback. They could go wide receiver like we talked about earlier. Maybe even safety. But, there's certainly other positions that they could go with as well. But I'll say this, man. I'm open to anything at this point. I want to see how the season plays out. I want to see how free agency plays out, obviously. And then we can kind of have a good idea of what the Steelers are thinking with their first round selection this year. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a real one, if you love the Pittsburgh Steelers, you love this channel, you appreciate the work that we put in for you guys every single day to get you guys 2 Steelers videos for free on this channel every day. The best way you guys can say thank you is just click that thumbs up icon. It really does help out our channel. All right, so now next question from Bernard says, is Tomlin mad at Aaron Rodgers? No, he's not mad at Aaron Rodgers, man. He's obviously disappointed that he didn't play well last week, but, that's the way you want your coach to respond. And by the way, Rodgers would tell you that he's probably pretty upset with how he played last week. So, there's no bad blood between Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers because of the way Aaron played last week, Bernard. $5 from Andrew says, why do they give more snaps to Jonnu Smith than Pat Freiermuth? Well, it's because Arthur Smith loves him. All right, that's why they wanted him in a trade when they ended up trying to get him. And then, of course, they packaged Jalen Ramsey in the deal to get him as well. But Jonnu Smith is somebody that's been known as kind of like a good yak threat throughout his career, and I think that Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers were kind of thinking like, oh, we got to get the ball out of Aaron's hands because he doesn't move very well, so we got to get the ball out fast. A good way to get the ball out fast is to get it to a designated kind of touch, kind of yak threat, and they thought Jonnu Smith was going to provide them a competitive advantage in that regard. But he doesn't block, which is kind of weird because Arthur Smith usually likes guys that block, and Jonnu Smith doesn't do shit in the blocking game. And then he doesn't run good routes. He doesn't have particularly good hands. And he's not the same yak threat that he was last year in Miami when he had a career year. So he's just been a massive disappointment. They drastically overpaid for him. I think the Steelers probably thought he was going to be able to be as productive as a number 2 receiver is in this offense, and he has less than 200 yards more than halfway through the season, which is just embarrassing. So my thinking is play Pat Freiermuth more. He's been way more productive, way more efficient. He's just a better player than Jonnu Smith is at this point, and I'd pretty much bench Jonnu Smith at this point in this season. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Will the Steelers win the AFC North this year? Simply give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. The betting market certainly favors the Ravens, but at least for me personally, guys, I'm still keeping hope that the Pittsburgh Steelers can win the division this season. All right, man, that'll be it for this week's edition of the Steelers Talk Mailbag. Thank you for everybody that submitted questions this week. Of course, we'll be going live for our game versus the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday afternoon. That all starts at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already for our live coverage of Steelers versus Bengals.